The Attorney General's Chambers says it had a serious concern about redacting the names of 6 trainee lawyers who had cheated in the bar exam. Look out for consumer prices to keep rising in the months ahead, especially for food, electricity and gas. And in our travel series, First Flight Out, find out what Incheon in South Korea has to offer besides the airport. You're watching The Big Story with me, Olivia Quay. Remember to subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss an episode. Travellers on some flights over the Labour Day long weekend will be affected by changes to flight timings. Changi Airport Group says there will be a retiming of a, quote, very small number of flights to spread them apart during the extremely high peak periods. During the recent Good Friday long weekend, some 400,000 air passengers passed through Singapore, about 31% of the average weekly passenger traffic in 2019. Following a judge's decision yesterday to name 6 trainee lawyers who had cheated in the 2020 bar exam, a spokesperson for the Attorney General's Chambers today explained why it had asked for the 6 names to be disclosed, saying it had a serious concern that redacting these names would cast a cloud over the entire batch of candidates. Quote, the vast majority of whom had passed the examinations honestly, as the public may speculate as to who the said applicants were. Now, the High Court judge who had presided over the 6 trainee lawyers' hearing initially redacted their names in the hope that they will not be prejudiced in the long run. Joining me now is lawyer Justin Chan, a senior partner at Tito Isaac Co. So, Justin, what does it take to become a lawyer in Singapore?
Well, there are 2 broad paths to being a lawyer in Singapore, largely separated into where you graduated from. So if you're a foreign graduate, that degree usually takes about 3 years. If you're a local graduate, that degree takes about 4 years. But after that, there's certain hoops to jump through. For foreign graduates, you need to take what is known as a Part A. That includes a 6 months course as well as relevant legal training. Now, if you're a if you're a local graduate, you don't need to do Part A. You need to do Part B, and Part B is basically an examination, which includes up to 7 core topics, and it's core because it covers most practice areas like conveyancing, civil litigation, criminal litigation, and the like. So the key difference is the Part A versus Part B. So you only need to do Part A if you're a foreign graduate, then you can do Part B. If you are a local graduate, you can go straight to Part B.
Well, Justin, the matter in question, it involves Part B and particularly the 2020 bar exam. So could you take us through what sitting the bar exam is like here?
Well, I mean, the last time I took it was ages ago, as they say, but I don't think much has changed in terms of the stress. I think it's a stressful situation. Exams always are, but the interesting thing was this year was 2020 was the year of the pandemic, if you remember. So what happened was that the exam was taken in camera rather than in person, or done remotely, in other words. So this was a little bit different because previously you sit there and you've got your soft copy notes and you got soft copies with you and you've got hard copies. But here at home, you had access to the internet. I think that's the key difference in this case.
Is that one of the reasons why this case is so unprecedented?
Yeah. I mean, you got it right in one. It's unprecedented because it was held in remotely. So that was, I want to say, a different way that the exam was set for, and I guess that allowed certain avenues to take shortcuts, which the 6 of them did.
Well, Justin, the 6 trainee lawyers have had their applications to be called to the bar postponed. Do you think the punishment was too lenient, perhaps?
Well, given some thought about it, I don't think so. I don't think it was too lenient for a few reasons. Chiefly, it's because I'm a great believer in the second chance. I think it's too early for the 6 unfortunates to define themselves as lawyers. You need to practice to be able to define yourself as lawyers. It's good that they learned this mistake earlier rather than later. They weren't in a solicitor-client relationship where that relationship of trust could be abused. In fact, I'm such a firm believer in the second chance that if the 6 of you are listening, give me a call. Maybe we can work something out.
Well, thank you so much, Justin, for weighing in on this. Justin Chan there, a senior partner at law firm Tito Isaac Co. Rising food and energy prices have put household budgets under pressure, and it looks set to get worse. According to the Monetary Authority of Singapore, core inflation is projected to pick up sharply in the coming months and average 2.5 to 3.5% for the year. It should then come down in late 2022. Now, the latest figures in March saw inflation hitting a 10-year high of 2.9%. OCBC Chief Economist Selina Ling tells The Big Story, despite rising prices, the Singapore economy remains on track to grow by 3 to 5% this year.
I think the 3 to 5% growth forecast actually remains intact. We actually shaded down our 4% growth to around 3.5%, mainly because of the start of the Russian-Ukraine war, and also because we're starting to see a lot of the global supply chains impact due to the China lockdown because of their zero COVID strategy. But that said, on the flip side, we are starting to see a bit of a silver lining in terms of the recent relaxation for a lot of the COVID-related restrictions and also the border controls. So I do expect that growth is going to be more broad-based going ahead. So while manufacturing and electronics may see slightly more modest growth compared to the high base last year, nevertheless, the services side, I think, should actually compensate a little bit. So I do expect that the aviation and also the hospitality and services sectors will play a bigger role in terms of lifting the momentum into the second half of this year. As far as inflation is concerned, I think we are starting to see very persistent commodity and food price inflation, but on top of that, domestic cost pressures continue to ratchet higher. So one thing we have to be fairly watchful for is that the labor market remains very tight, and that would translate, I think, into higher wage expectations. So there could be a little bit of that wage price spiral. If it doesn't subside towards the end of this year, then of course that could open the door for MAS to tighten monetary policy again at the scheduled October meeting.
Meanwhile, employers in Singapore are stepping up their hiring of foreign labour, driven mostly by the hiring of work permit holders in the construction sector. In the coming months, the number of such workers is expected to continue to recover with a further easing of border measures. Overall, the labour market remains tight, with retrenchments hitting a record low of 1,300 in the first 3 months of this year. This in contrast to the third quarter of 2020 at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when there were over 9,000 layoffs. More workplace safety inspections will be conducted here in this quarter after 16 workplace deaths were recorded this year, with 7 taking place this month alone, the worst since February last year. Senior Minister of State for Manpower, Zaki Mohammed, says initial investigations for some of the recent accidents found a clear lack of control measures and safe work procedures. And so the Manpower Ministry is devoting more resources to conduct 25% more inspections this quarter compared with the last. Indonesia's ban on palm oil exports kicks in today to include crude palm oil, refined, bleached and deodorized palm oil and even used cooking oil. The ban is meant to ensure ample domestic supplies that can be processed for the production of, among others, cooking oil, which has been priced more since November. President Joko Widodo says the ban would be lifted once the local demand for food staples is met. While the COVID-19 situation in Beijing and Shanghai continue to show signs of stabilizing, Hangzhou is starting mass testing, urging residents to get checked every 48 hours. And with 10,000 free test sites set up, it will cover most of the city's downtown area. Now, Hangzhou is home to a small but notable network of tech companies like Alibaba Group and is set to host the Asian Games in September. Similarly, Guangzhou is mass testing almost a third of its near 19 million residents after an abnormal test result was detected at the airport, where most flights have been cancelled. Travel, food and music. We've got some gems in this week's live picks for you, including the return of big concerts and some A-list stars to Singapore. Music correspondent Dino Abdul Hadi joins me now. Dino, I know at least one colleague who's super excited about Justin Bieber coming back, and that can only be my co-presenter Haryanto Diman. Is that something you're excited about too?
Well, Olivia, I can't say I'm a believer, but I am looking forward to going to that concert too, because I think that Justin Bieber is at the top of his game right now. You know, the man has his ups and downs, but right now, if you look at this week's like pop charts across the world, he's got like 2 songs in the top 10, even in the Singapore charts, you know. And he was up for a few awards. He performed at the Grammys, so I think it's a good time to be Justin Bieber right now. But you know, at this point of time, I'm excited to go to any big concerts. So Justin Bieber sold out all 40,000 of the tickets available when it first went on sale last week. But earlier today, the organizers added more tickets. So if you missed out, you know, there's still a chance to get more tickets to the shows. And, you know, for Mando Pop fans, you know, they have a lot to look forward to. 2 of the biggest Mando Pop acts, Jay Chou and Mayday, they're both playing at the National Stadium in December. So those are going to have massive crowds. And before that, you've got Della Ding Dang at the Star Theatre. You've got Arlene at the Singapore Indoor Stadium, and both are in May. And if you're into indie and alternative rock, one of the biggest post-rock bands in the world, Sigur Rós, is performing at the Star Theatre in August. And you know what? I think these are just the tip of the iceberg. There's more to come. The F1 entertainment lineup announcement is expected to come soon. And past F1 gigs have always been some of the biggest concerts held in Singapore, with up to 65,000 people, fans at the Padang stage alone. So, you know, I think it's a very good time to be a music fan right now, and a lot of stuff to look forward to.
Definitely. Many thanks to our music correspondent, Dino Abdul Hadi. Now, if you love seafood and sharing, then this might just be for you. Here's senior food correspondent Wong Ayok. Ayok, do tell us more about this new restaurant, Poisson.
Okay, yeah, Poisson is a little restaurant in Bukit Pasir Road. They opened not too long ago. Poisson is French. It means fish. And although the name is French, the cooking is not French, but it's Western, but the chef will like mix in some Asian elements here and there. They have a very simple menu. The menu is just divided into 2 parts, the cold dishes and the hot dishes. So you start with the cold dishes usually. I mean, that's the tradition. So you look at that for your appetizers and you find things that most Singaporeans will love. A lot of sea urchin, uni, there's caviar, there's prawns. So so these 3 ingredients actually make up one of my favorite dishes. And the chef adds in a little bit of spring onion oil. And that to me gives it its special taste, because a lot of other restaurants do the same combination, but that spring onion oil is what really brings it to life for me. So I will recommend that for the appetizers. And then you look at the hot section, and in the hot section, you will find most of the main courses. I love squid, so I would I would definitely recommend this dish that they call the game. It's a squid just plainly grilled on a hot plate, and then it's covered with like this all chopped up herbs, roasted garlic, and there are onions and tomato as well. So you sort of mix up everything together, and then yeah, the squid is just wonderful. I love the texture. And also, fish of the day was a turbo, which is just like put on the grill and then serve with vegetables. Very, very simple, but really, really good.
Always yummy food pics with senior food correspondent Wong Ayok. ST's new travel series, First Flight Out, continues this week with Incheon in South Korea. And joining me from Seoul is correspondent Chang Mei-chun. Mei-chun, tell us, besides the airport, what else does Incheon have to offer?
Well, many things. Like you said, most people associate Incheon with just the airport. You land, you head straight to Seoul, maybe Jeju Island, Busan. So Incheon is really under the radar, which also means that there's a lot of hidden gems waiting for you to discover. If you like history, Open Port Street, which is near Incheon Station, is a must-go. That's where Korea's only Chinatown, only official Chinatown is located. And you will find many Western influences there, also a Japanese street, because the port of Incheon was the place where foreign merchants first landed when the once isolated Korean peninsula decided to open up back in 1883. So you can do it like me, hop onto an electric car tour. This will take you through all the main areas in the open port area. You can visit places such as the first modern park in Korea. Is designed by a Russian architect. The first ever Western style hotel, which is also in Incheon. And then there is this Songwon-dong fairy tale village, where your favorite characters such as Snow White, Tinkerbell, Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland will pop up, on wall murals and also paintings. This used to be, the fairy tale village, it used to be where foreign merchants lived. So they've kind of converted the whole place into this fairy tale village to attract tourists. You can also rent a vintage outfit, so you can pose beautifully against all the historical buildings in the area. Another place in Incheon I'd like to recommend is Paradise City. It is an integrated resort, much like Singapore's Marina Bay Sands. And here is where you'll find the best and most luxurious jjimjilbang, or Korean-style spa and sauna. You also find an indoor theme park that cleverly blends media art with amusement park rides. And finally, food. Don't leave Incheon without eating these two things. First is jjajangmyeon, or black bean sauce noodles, and chogegugi, which is barbecue shellfish. So if you're heading to South Korea, do include Incheon in your itinerary.
Will do. Kamsahamnida to our South Korea correspondent, Chang Mei-chun. And for you Downton Abbey fans, the Crawleys are back on the big screen. Set in 1928, the family reluctantly agreed to let a studio use their home as a film location. You can read film correspondent Don Louis' review of Downton Abbey, A New Era at str.sg/life. Also visit straitstimes.com for more news and our YouTube channel. For more videos, subscribe by hitting the red button below. I'm Olivia Quay. See you tomorrow on The Big Story.